up this morning and I really wanted some pancakes, so I decided to start making some Bisquick. And I realized that I didn't really know a whole lot about Bisquick, so I went ahead and looked up some stuff, and it's actually really interesting. It says Bisquick and pancake mix on it, but the brand originally got started as a biscuit mix. There was a cook on the Southern Pacific Railroad, and Carl Smith, the executive at the time, was the executive for General Mills. He was on the train. Oh my God, I need something else to scoop this out because this is ridiculous. He was on the train and he ordered biscuits, and they came out like hot, fresh, awesome, amazing biscuits. And he was like, what the hell? How did this happen? And there was this cook that had a pre-mixed biscuit, not dough, but he had pre-made biscuit batter, and he kept it in an ice box because, I mean, you remember the refrigerator hadn't really been a thing yet. And this cook, so I tried to find the cook's name, and I looked through employment records and Google searches and stuff like that, and the only name I could come up with was Levy Laird. His father was an emancipated slave, and he was a cook, and he worked for Southern Pacific Railroad in the same region, the Oregon to San Francisco region, during the exact same time frame. Now, is this the guy that had the premix? I don't actually know for sure. But it was in 1930. Carl Smith talked to him, got the idea, went back and talked to a chemist at General Mills, and they spent a year coming up with the recipe. So in 1931, they finally got around the whole like how to make it shelf stable thing, and you know, make them nice and fluffy and perfect, and came out with Bisquick. Now there's a really cool food history channel which talks about the entire history of pancakes, but it doesn't really cover the American side, and I couldn't find any diners or restaurants open prior to the 1930s, about 1938. In 1930s, they had these things called tea rooms, and they served like a type of dinner, they served waffles and stuff like that. And I imagine at some point they probably got a hold of these recipes, but there's a lot of this you'll find with food where there isn't a lot of very specific time frame. It's kind of like how memes are, but with no internet, so you don't really know precisely like when it took hold inside of these like diner style establishments. But I do know in 1953, the original Pancake House got started, and in 1958, IHOP got started. And both of those just kind of took off. But there were, you know, I mean, there's diners all the way back to, I think it was like the 1870s. There was like a horse-drawn kind of like what people call like a chuck wagon kind of thing, but it was a diner style thing where people could come in and get some food, and that's gonna make a mess. Come in and get some food and stuff. And who knows, maybe they had pancakes there. I mean, because pancakes have been are pretty much as old as humans. Like, it's even said, while I was searching for the history of this stuff, I found that the Iceman, the Ötzi guy, they suspect that he ate a form of pancake too. So, I mean, and these things have been, and if you think about it, it's such a simple recipe. It's, you know, flour, sugar, milk, eggs, water, whatever, and cook it on some type of flat, hot surface, you know. So we're gonna use a paper towel. Basically what we're looking for is most of the bubbles will pop. The inside may still be a little bit shiny, but this outer side will not just turn matte, but you'll notice it start to cook, and you can kind of see the edge. You'll actually be able to really see the edge start to turn, and that's how you'll know that it's like absolutely perfect. Now, I always set my griddle when I'm cooking like pancakes, bacon, sausage, or doing anything like that. I always set it to 350 because that seems to be the perfect kind of magical temperature that things cook on. If you turn the temperature up too high, the pancakes will get done on the outside, but then the inside will still be kind of gooey. And if it's too low, it'll take forever to cook, and by the time the pancakes are done, they're not even golden brown. So you kind of have to find this middle ground, and 350 is about where that is. I got this little mini pancake thing. So this is already almost where we want them. See this? See how that's like matte? See how that's like matte and like most of the bubbles are popped? That's right where you want them. All right, now we're just gonna cut this off. You don't need any butter, you don't need any cooking spray or anything like that. And actually using cooking spray will make the pancakes take on this kind of weird, I can actually even show you what happens. After you flip them, they only take about a minute or two. If you need to check them, just take your spatula, kind of go up under the corner a little bit and check. Yeah, these are maybe another 30 seconds at most. It doesn't really take very long. But they have this nice golden brown, looks like something you could take a picture of. And this mark right here is from the element is a square, and so it'll take on a little bit more of that. But they're essentially done. They're ready to go. Just like that. Nice, perfect golden brown pancakes using Bisquick. If you guys want to see a scratch pancake recipe, I can do that as well. But I just wanted to start with something simple. Pancakes have tons of names. There's like Johnny cakes, flapjacks, whatever. And a lot of people want to know, like, well, what's the difference between a flapjack and a Johnny cake and a pancake? Region. That's really all it is. There's, you know, a lot of places up in the mountains like to refer to them as flapjacks, but there can be people that can say that a flapjack is this or that, but realistically, it's just what people call pancakes regionally. So I'm gonna use cooking spray on this to show you something. So I'm gonna use cooking spray, and then I'm just gonna do one kind of decently sized pancake since I have a little bit of extra batter left. And we're gonna let that cook like normal. Now, this is how it started out. Now we're gonna see how cooking spray affects these pancakes. Native Americans had a form of pancake called choctaw, C-H-O-C-T-A-W, and it used cornmeal. And it's kind of interesting. Like, pancakes didn't really get their start in any one particular spot, because if you realize how easy the recipe is, it developed in several different areas. Everywhere from China to Europe to America, all kind of had their own version of it. We invented kind of like what we know in America as the rising pancake, because over in Europe they do pancakes, but they don't have leavening agent like baking powder or anything like that. It's just the egg. And you'll even see in most of the older recipes, the older European recipes, they don't have that leavening agent, but we do, and that's just how we like our pancakes. I'm totally fine with that because they're delicious, and I can eat 500,000 pancakes in one go. Now, the pancake recipe that Bisquick uses, or the mix recipe that Bisquick uses, this is not the same one that they started out with in 1930. They actually made a fluffier version of this recipe in the 60s, and they changed the recipe. So we actually get the 1960s version of these pancakes. And as always, like, I'm curious as to what they tasted like in the 1930s, but if these are better and fluffier, then I'm all for it. And you know, the fact that it got started as a biscuit recipe, not a pancake recipe, and it just kind of evolved, it's just a really versatile baking mix. It's you know, like, if you're horrible at baking, you can just grab a box of this and do a whole crap load of stuff with it right out the gate. Okay, so one thing that you'll notice is there's the bubbles, not nearly as many. It's also taking longer, but this part here is getting nice and matte, which is also what we're looking for. That's close enough. See the design? See how much different that is? That's with pan spray, and that's without pan spray. So if you want that nice kind of traditional golden brown look to them, that's what you want. If you want them to look more like this, then use some pan spray or use some butter or something like that. But you don't really need it. As long as your surface isn't the type of surface where things stick. A lot of pans, they get all these micro scratches and stuff on them. And so when you go to use it, obviously the batter kind of seeps into those cracks and scratches. And that's why it's a big pain in the ass to get your pancakes up out of the pan. But I also prefer a griddle because having to cook for a family, you need to be able to make a whole bunch all at once instead of one or two at a time, when one person to themselves can eat 4 or 5 pancakes. So that's it. That is pretty much the history of Bisquick in a nutshell. And this is kind of a shorter video because I'm just dipping my toe in the water with this format, and I wanted to kind of test it out and see what people thought. If you want to see more advanced recipes, if you want to see more things where I'm cooking, cutting, chopping, giving directions, let me know in the comments. There's not a lot of people doing first-person cooking, so I thought it would be an awesome thing to try out. I'm gonna go eat these. You guys have an awesome day, and until next time, I'm out.
It's a snap with Bisquick.